Loa was his name. The flower that wilts not in the sun. Now the chant, just that chant, lifting of the cup, lifting the secrecy.
Asshole. Swim from actor. Caldera. It's a little steamer down.
Quartet means for.
I know.
You can see all
I'm not supposed to ask, but that lady was
steam coming out.
We have a fabulous, extraordinary view of the mountain. I'm referring to
Susan's in charge of the weather, by the way.
is this massive mountain called Mauna Loa. Mauna meaning mountain, Loa meaning long. And yes, it is long because look how long it is. It's so long and so massive that it makes up about almost half of the island itself. And it rises from the ocean floor all the way up to, and the way we measure mountains now is above sea level. So it's only 13,700 feet above sea level. But we don't measure the rest of the bulk, which is some 20,000 feet below.
And as I said yesterday, there are scientists that believe the whole thing is 50,000+ feet.
Yes,
It's
because
so
of the way,
into the
because it's so heavy that it's actually bending the lithosphere. So bending.
Military camps. Kill around. Mauna Loa. Background.
Cheryl is Dr. Rotz, I call her. She's a doctor of geology, and she's from Stanford, the same year that she gave birth to her first daughter. So she had a busy year then. She's married to Dr. Kenneth Hahn, who is the geologist at the University of Hawaii in Hilo. So they live in Hilo. She's come all the way up the mountain to be with us this morning and to share the formation of Hawaiian Islands.
That's what geology is all about, is learning to read the landscape. To go to a place and look at the scenery and not just say, oh, that's pretty, but to start thinking about, oh, why is it like this? You know, why is there this enormous canyon? Or why do we travel between the islands? Why they look so different? And give you a little bit of a base for interpreting the landscape.
Apparently so much lava is in a big surge that came out of the ground. There was so much lava going through this tube system that it was gushing out of the first 2 or 3 skylights in the tube, and it was in these dome fountains. The first skylight, I remember, was very large. It was probably on the order of 15 meters, 20 meters in diameter.
9 miles away, we could easily hear the roar and feel a gentle vibration. At night, residents and visitors would watch these beautiful fountains from several locations. Geologists from the Hawaiian Volcano Observatory constantly monitored the eruption. I believe that there is no experience comparable to being in a forest at night when an flow is coming through.
1502 July 2nd, Warrior Street.
This surging front isn't very thick, but it's about the fastest I've seen, and it's followed closely by the rest of the flow. This is Bob Decker, scientist in charge of the Hawaiian Volcano Observatory. He's chalking the road to see how fast the flow will cover the next 10 meters. Brad Lewis and I just woke up to find this event has broken out in full force. Up here on the slopes of Pu'u'o, we have a great view down toward this little cone as it tosses glowing balls of spatter into the air. There was a bench out in front of this littoral cone, but it fell into the ocean a couple days ago. Now the main tube shoots a 2-foot diameter stream of lava straight out into the surf. Huge spatter explosions result from this violent interaction of lava and water.
Here, an flow tumbles off a cliff, showering clinker down into the bushes around me. In a few minutes, the entire slope is knee-deep in Lava flows do strange things when gravity tugs them down these steep slopes. They can be shedding chunks of torn crust one minute and stretching like taffy the next. On a clear day like this, we get a good view of the whole eruption area, especially the long northeast trending shield constructed by the perched ponds. The new vent is pouring out a lot of lava to the south and already seems to be building up its own shield. These inflated sheet flows have charged across the flat coastal plain, covering 2 miles in just a couple of days. Notice how the entire surface of this sheet flow lobe is being moved forward in the time-lapse shot. Just before 3 this morning, a large explosion created a 100-foot wide crater in Halemaumau. This explosion blasted ash and huge rocks, some weighing more than 2 tons, out of the crater onto the rim 200 feet above. The fence at the viewing area is smashed and the entire area buried in rocks and ash. Volcanic smog, or VOG as it's known here, is a major problem. The sulfur dioxide output of Kilauea has doubled this winter and is between 3,000 and 4,000 tons per day. The intense VOG has forced the national park to close twice and has adversely affected many residents downwind of the vents.
In the middle of nowhere. We're surrounded by the biggest body of water on the planet, and we're 3,000 miles from the nearest land mass. We are the most isolated. We say the 3 W's. Wing, water, and wind. Wind, water, and wind. That's how any life gets to these most isolated places. And when they get here, wherever they come from, they get here, and suddenly, they're like a sailor in a port. They have no predators. So what happens? Without no predators, they get to do whatever they want. There's not this whole
Team
line. We've been walking along this line now. Is a crack.
Crack in the caldera, the side of the
And
caldera.
it's getting wider every day or every month.
No, actually, this is
Hmm,
that direction. But guess what's over there where all that, a whole other line. Another crack. Exactly. So where are we? We're in the middle. And
Sulfur banks.
So we have so many gases here. So we're looking at, this is the Sulphur Banks area. We're looking at the sulphur flowers. I like to call them the name of the flower. It's a very important flower. Not just because we live in Kilauea.
Tutu, Mauna Kea.
Mauna Kea.
Mauna Kea means white mountain in the Hawaiian language. You guys know why? Snow! I had to bring pictures because I have so many visitors. They say, there's no snow in Hawaii, Dean. It's all beaches and palm trees. So I have to show them snow every year.
Of the first migration from Marquesas up to above the equator. 1,000 years later, the Tahitians coming up and bringing with them the high chief Pa'aopili, and them coming up and actually just superimposing that kapu system onto those nice, innocent little minihuni. The Marquesans. So, good. Okay, we're getting there. Just put your hands on your throat right here and say, uh-oh. Uh-oh. You might feel something vibrating. You feel that? Okay. That's the okina. It's way back there. Just think of Alright, so these are our consonants of the Hawaiian language. He, ke, la, mu, nu, pi, le, okina.
Came in 1916, they actually lived in tents. And as you were coming up from Hilo the other day, I don't know whether anybody pointed out that on the left we might be able to see part of the globe.
Two hulls. Now that small little shack, do you think everybody could sleep in there?
No.
So,
the industries or the agricultural base, so they're going up and down for about 3 centuries.
All came out in this huge eruption that went up to 2,000 feet up into the air. The cinder cone is about 500 feet tall.
Now, if you look on the sides, you can see there's a kind of tide mark around. If you look on that side, you can see it can be as much as 50 feet high, but it's actually averaging about 30. That was the last flow that came up to that level and then went down about 30 feet before it blocked permanently.
The Thurston lava too.
Where we just looked, and it would have been way above us.
This is the
Lava was
13th
coming out of the top.
crater.
Flowed in this direction, continued on down to Hilo. By the way, this lava tube has been traced about 17 miles in all. To do that, you have to get out because it collapses, or other lava. This is a lobelia, native lobelia.
looking straight up and we see all the cracks that come all the way down. We can also see the level of the lava flow here behind me and on the other side, the level of the lava flow, the bathtub ring, if you will. Yeah.
3% of the population were the elite. This is all the high-ranking people. Cook thought there were two races here, is probably right, but also food access probably made the chiefs very, very tall. 6'4", 6'8" was not unusual.
Yeah,
Really? Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Really high up.
So good. I think that's the group we lost last week. To be found. Ivogle sandalwood was all along the North African coast, and they already knew that it was of value in the Silk Route long before Marco Polo went, or people connecting with it.
This evening we're starting at Lava Tree Park. Lisa Fisher.
Smaller as well, and that the iron in the rock has gotten oxidized, basically that rust again, while the crack is still glowing and steaming. You tend to see a lot of that red right on the inside of the cracks. You can see a little bit of that along the walls here. Of course, everything now is covered with moss. This is a very wet, lush area. So since 290. So now we're going to follow the...
Rinse the nails when you don't need them.
That's the papaya.
You'll be sorry.
Separating and pulling away, you get these scrape marks. Have you ever seen glacial striations where you get glacial? This is, but this, the rock is different.
That's very good for giving us perspective there.
Perspective, right.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Cut the steps out and no. Wishful thinking symbol.
There's some big ones.
No, but it's why not even carrying
Hala. Pandanus.
Hala. H-A-L-A. This is a very, very popular plant, utilized, and particularly in the southern islands. You go down to the atolls, this and coconut are the two they use all the time for everything. And this is when you see mats, and as we go through the islands you're going to see areas and even walk on beautiful beigey mats. It's this plant that you're going to be walking on.
Do they use strips of that plant, or do they get the fibers from the plant and weave it?
They use it. They actually have got, and in the old days they would use things like certain fishes' spikes and that they would make. They would take a piece of wood and they would put these spikes in at different levels, and then they could come along and shred it to different widths and use it for different things. Okay. So they could use the whole thing, they could use segments of it, depending on what you're going to make.
Everybody walking over to the area where they can see the lava. And this is a lava field.
More obvious when we leave. I'm telling you, somebody's...
Are you on the skip?
That's a good one. Really blowing out. There's a good one. Got that? It's really blowing.
Yeah. Kouila and the sea turtle Punalu'u. Relaxing.
That's what I have to have on my lips after they cut out that juice that side.
Relaxing beach. The green people eating algae. Taking pictures of the girl.
You're right.
a group going into a painted church.
How about that?
Here where Cook landed. Yep. So Cook landed is in a bay down this direction. The burials here were all above ground because all the paintings on the walls invited other people.
Place of refuge of Honolulu.
Sorry?
Place of refuge of Honolulu.
I can live with that. If you go to translate it, literally all it means is a sacred or sanctified hill at the place called Honolulu.
The first crop that man has grown anywhere in the world. The earliest findings of it, that these were everywhere to be found, and they were the women's houses. And the men never went near them, and would always say, I don't know what they do in there, but there are no signs, so they did. And they were making things like baskets. Now that's kind of a sad one there. This one, used for medicine. This is about the size of a man's house, because what does he need in it? Down here. Now if you live further up the mountain, there are different requirements, if it's cold, things like that. But here, his son and he would live in there, and the few possessions they need. One of the things I like about their ritualized war was sometimes two sides would say that all of the conditions were perfect for them to go to war. So God Kukailimoku, he's the war god, one of the four of the main. We believe that it's his followers that came to Hawaii. They were probably beaten by Kanaloa, who is the god of the sea in the South Pacific, and he dominated down there. And there's a thought that these guys were part of the followers of Ku and were killed in a battle, and what was left of them.
This is the landing place for the royal barge. So the wall separates the royal compound from the people who know the place of forgiveness.
Of those, they were there till 1828, when foreigners were getting avid in collecting things, and the Queen said, we've got to do something. They took the bones from here, they took them up to Kealakekua Bay, and they buried them in the cliffs above the bay. But in actual fact, Molokai had the largest complex of fish ponds in the whole of the Pacific. And it's because between it and the island of Lanai, there is this area that has filled in. That's the how, that's what that material there is, the floating device out. Once they discovered this outrigger,
found the reason for saying, found the beauty of saying, this is my home. Because yeah, there are rainbows and many morning showers.
Breakfast. There's the sound of the surf. Oh, yeah.
Newest national park in Hawaii. Back in the 1960s, this plot of land, this section of land, was protected by the federal government. Clearly very fancy sailing ship with the sails on it. This is very, very well developed.
Is it actually a part of the history? And we know that it is. There is a ship called the Fair American. I'll talk about the whole story later, but be aware that it came to this coast. The ship prior to it coming
very typical, simple stick figure. So they went from something like this prior to the coming of Cook all the way to
Well,
they are in some areas, most
pictures there.
in a communal way is really by fish ponds. You can cultivate a lot of fish to feed a community and make sure that you have this continual supply, like in your refrigerator, stocked full of fish.
Just
There's steps up there, right? Yeah. Anything else? What else do you see? I heard somebody say something. There's flowers in there. Yeah. So this is different from...
Being in such a dry and desolate place, water is very precious. And the Hawaiian word for water is vai. So vai is precious, and to have a lot of water is vai, to be rich. So if you were vai, that was their cash basis. They didn't have money or the Lincolns or anything like that. They had water. And the reason for water is you need water for life. And the water gave life to the plants, the people, the fish, virtually everything they needed to survive.
That's actual size. Big one.
Yes, we're in the white. The state was giving presents to, presents. Whatever he considers a day, that day. And he said they were all carrying a trunk of sandalwood to bring down to here to give to the American Yankee traders, and 90% of the reason they were doing that for guns.
Polynesians were traversing the largest continent in the world when your ancestors were afraid to leave sight of landfall lest they go over the edge. Can you imagine getting from here say Maui, to Tahiti. Rob, how far is Tahiti from Big Island? 1,500, 2,000?
Oh no, it's 2,000.
2,000 something, yeah. It's a speck in the ocean. And if you sail from Maui on the summer solstice, you can be there quickly in 2 weeks flat, and you can't miss it. You want to know why you can't miss it? Sure you do. You've heard of the Southern Cross? You head for the Southern Cross, and where the top one lines up with the bottom one is Papeete. Can't miss it. How's that for clever? Pretty clever, huh? Go in more or less straight lines along rift zones. You learned this already, right? I'm just giving you a review. Yeah, okay. So this is a major one. Now, this valley is about 1.5 million years old. Ask if you're ready in life. Hey, ho, ma, cacao! Aye! God, these guys are good. Hey, ho, ma, cacao! Take a deep breath in. Hey, ho, ma.
They would come back to Hawaii in the fall, stay to take on food, water, and whatever else they need, and then they would make that straight across the ocean trade wind trip to Asia.
feathered legs. Traditional Hawaiian quilt with the Hawaiian flag in it. Pretty tiny pony.
They can catch the airplanes as they crash.
Yeah, when they put the poi bowl and they knew that he was one of them when he shared the calabash with them. And this is, you know, Hawaiian style. When you're invited to, or even when you do take part of the same bowl of the people, you're ohana. You're ohana.
So they took the leather from the chair and they placed it into the coffin. And he's buried in there. He's also buried barefooted because some of the beliefs is that when you pass away, Hawaiian belief is the soul flux through your feet. And he liked the idea of that, so they say he's buried with the shoes alongside of him.
Goodbye, my darling Leona. E hele ana wangi ka moku ka hiki. Mai uwe na ke olu olu oi. E hoki hou wangi ko Leona he na he. Very well, my true love, my hone.
Introduce to you Noe Kali'ipi'i also. This is Noelani Kali'ipi'i.
How are you all? And she is hosting us for this entire stay. She knows a lot about you. That's why she said she knows you all on paper. She is primarily responsible for the moving of the group from place.
Yeah. And the sugar cane is fed in through this side, and it is squeezed, fed through the rollers, squeezed. The juice goes into the building, and what comes out this side is 900 feet. So it is 10 degrees, particularly in the summer, it's 10, 15 degrees cooler. These are the evaporator pans, and the liquid would run down by gravity because it's at a tilt, and it would be getting thicker. Molasses is allowed to flow through. It was collected and stored under the floor of the barn. And as
so why is raw sugar more expensive?
it's one of those things that I don't know, because when you refine sugar, I think you're taking all the goodness out.
This one is machine and hand quilting. The first quilting lesson was given.
Patterns
Welcome to come up, take a look. This is all hand.
Plants or flowers.
And back to
Sampling your coconut water.
His machete and just actually clip the top off the coconut itself. Hardy of all that to make a nice, even strand.
Coconut palm.
Now you can't find
read, or does it read? We can read our hand. This one you can see the white.
Not on the whole program. Salema. Yeah, no S and no J. So, like when we say Jesus,
they don't get nearly as big as the ones in Mexico. The ones in Mexico.
They're using solar panels.
They are down.
What?
The waterfall you can see here is Ipua. Ipua means the twisting tail. A corn that's growing at the base of the stalk in the top layers of soil beneath the surface of the running water. It's this corn that we remove, you boil, and then clean, and then pound into pulp. Kalo has a very strong cultural, spiritual significance to our ancestors because it is, in the thinking of our ancestors, it is the first. Meaning, in the ancestral belief, we are born. Born from Po. Po is the ancestral realm, it is the darkness. It's from Po that born is the ocean. Born is the land. Born is everything on the land. Born is everything within the sky. Born, therefore, is Papa. Papa is the earth mother, and born is Waikea, the sky father. From their union, born is the Kalo. And how that occurs, actually, is from Papa and Waikea's first union, a stillborn child is birthed. And it is said that where this child is buried came to be the first Kalo. From Papa and Waikea's second union, born is another child, and this is a live birth, and he is said to be the progenitor of the Hawaiian race.
There's no place to stand yet. No hotels or anything, so.
Pastor at the time did his own fundraising. The diocese couldn't afford to rehabilitate a church with such good people.
Apopo. Amauloa aku. Okay, suck them up.
Here's our first chorus. Starting with three.
And it's really nice. And they usually have a tour and a whole
So all the people with Rob and Susan, the merger. The merger.
This is the merger.
What the heck do we care? Hey-o! Hey-o! The gang's all here. What the hell do we care now? Wheels on the bus go round and round, round and round, round and round. Wheels on the bus go round and round, all through the Highland time. You make me happy.
We're out in the park at 4,000 feet. Flying all around. And we're going down the nature trail with the experts.
Well, they do say that because
You can buy the bus.
Enjoying the view.
This is the lighthouse. Let's see, right over on the point there.
Just about, gosh, I guess just over 3 years. Good morning, Rob. Good morning, Susan. Hi, Sherry. And I've been on Kauai for about 10 years, but before that I came from Washington State.
I don't see it. Yeah. Oh, there goes the sheer one. One, two, three, four, five, 6, 7, 8 juvenile frigate birds. Yeah, one, just two more. He's telling the other one to come over.
The Honolulu National Wildlife Refuge.
this arrangement between the farmers and the wildlife refuge that they have to keep it in water 11 months of the year.
They look very much like the mallard. Yeah. That's the edge of the pond. That's the Hawaiian moorhen. Now, again, the reason we have the refuges here is to protect these birds.
It's like exposing
Exactly.
So specific.
Yeah, well, it's right across from the hotel. We're going to drop you off, and if you guys want to do that tomorrow or this afternoon, whatever, you can. It's right across the street from the hotel. Go for it.
Down this way you have the holes of the missing. These are where people are still missing. Okay.
These are the operations in the Pacific. 1942 to 45. National Memorial Cemetery of the Pacific.
You get it now?
Opportunity Beach. Lining up for a hike in the park here.
Maybe we could take maybe about 4 more down here.
Is a kukui tree, and it's also the state tree. And it was brought in by the Hawaiians, or the early Polynesians. Hawaiians were Stone Age culture. They had rocks for tools. They didn't have any metal. That's why the nails on the ships were the first thing they went after, was the metal.
That's what, you know, what about this one, but then Susan thought that was the tallest thing.
mai ore o ke ola mai ka makani kule o ke kai kukua o ka aina uluwehi hunui kino e hihi wai
This sculpture was taken from the picture. One of the last photographs of Damien. So walk around that way if you like and see their chandelier. Walk around this side, see their chandelier. Found himself king. He had built himself a throne. And he Okay, that is Kabaya Hao Church, the missionary
Anyway, it's my pleasure to introduce to you Carol Silver. And Carol's going to share and finish off the program. And you'll find that at times you have questions, and Carol loves to have questions and give answers.
Yes.
And so I'm going to let Carol introduce herself because I think she does a better job than I do. So enjoy.
Thank you.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Wow, what a rousing aloha. I love it.
I'm very lucky to have, for our Aloha program, this Royal Order of Kamehameha and all our aunties and uncles coming to share Aloha with us. Turn the program over to Auntie Ku'ule. They're going to introduce themselves. This is the, I love the group name where it says what? The Hui, Kahui, Hau'oli. Ka, Hui, which means the gathering or the group, Da group. Hau'oli, a Hawaiian word for happy. So these are the happy
hotel room in Waikiki. Waikiki. Picture Paradise. Waikiki Beach. It is raining around this afternoon. Please move along Waikiki Beach Park. Yeah, a bunch of people have tried that one. to do. Lots of people. Sunset.
Because